One of the most universal traits of human beings is a ceaseless desire to exert control over the conditions of our lives. Yet even the simplest, most predictable lives result from a complex and chaotic network of causes and effects, actions and reactions. A shifting network that arises from an unimaginable set of possibilities that run from the highly unlikely to the very nearly certain. With every choice we make and action we take, we shuffle the cards that life then deals us. Hand after hand, we yearn to stack the deck in our favor as we wager our limited stake against a house with infinite resources. An increasingly popular way of sneaking desires into our lives like aces up our sleeves is by employing the belief that by taking charge of the focus of our thoughts, we can actually cause the things we want to arrive in our lives. An expression of this belief is the law of attraction. Knowledge once closely held in the hands of the powerful and successful was made popular in the book The Secret. Dr. Wayne Dyer teaches his own vision of this belief, calling it manifestation, or the power of intention. In this edition of the Temporal Reverie, I want to return to the subject of manifestation, by which we seek to engage as co-creators of the universe in order to cause things and events we desire to appear in our lives. I've spoken previously about reasons why we encounter limited or infrequent success with manifestation. The matter of why we succeed or fail at attracting our desires into our lives is something I've been exploring in greater depth. In the process, I've looked at the law of attraction in a new light that goes a long way to illuminate an untold secret at the heart of the secret, a secret displayed in plain view. One of the reasons I prefer to call the law of attraction by another name is a personal resistance to the notion that manifestation is a law of reality in the same way as the law of gravity. Frankly, I've come to view the entire law vocabulary for describing the workings of the universe as a confining and misleading narrative. It implies an absolutist nature that is inflexible and unbreakable. In his book, Science and Faith, A New Introduction, the author John F. Hout, a theologian and senior research fellow at Woodstock Theological Center, offers a critique of the law-based notion for describing the workings of the universe. In his book, he maps out answers to questions of concern to both science and faith from three perspectives he calls conflict, meaning science and faith are locked in a battle of mutual exclusion; contrast, meaning science and faith address distinct and non-overlapping domains of concern; and convergence, meaning that science and faith not only coexist, but combine to afford a more complete understanding of the universe. In considering the reality of miracles from the convergence perspective, he says, "Contrast concedes too much to the mechanistic and deterministic understanding of the physical universe that thrived during the early modern period and that still underlies much contemporary naturalism. Both conflict and contrast naively assume for that nature is a dictatorship run by inviolable laws, and that nature's laws are comparable to a system of legal enforcement." One of the things clearly indicated by the development of quantum theory in the late 19th and early 20th centuries is that the universe at a very deep level is neither mechanistic nor deterministic. At the most fundamental levels, the behavior of matter and energy are unavoidably characterized by uncertainty and randomness, in which the only meaningful predictions are described by probability. Hout goes on to say, "Our convergence approach, though, takes advantage of recent developments in science to portray nature as an ongoing story in which surprising new occurrences, such as the emergence of life, mind, and freedom, can occur as part of a still unfolding universe." Those who, like me, embrace the convergence perspective argue that a better narrative for describing the workings of the universe is as a drama in which conditions and behaviors can and do transform across the landscape of space-time. Hout suggests, in view of the fact that science has now shown nature to be a still unfinished narrative, let us exchange the juridical metaphor of nature's laws for that of nature's grammar. Likewise, let us drop the outdated metaphor of nature as a set of mechanisms and adopt the richer metaphor of nature as a drama. In this dramatic metaphor, the habits and tendencies of nature form a grammar that is consistently applied in an endlessly changing story that contains the capacity to introduce unexpected changes. A fixed, consistent grammar can still be employed to write an endless variety of dramatic transformations that can bring new phenomena into being in ways that a law-based notion would prohibit. Speaking of manifestation as a law of attraction, we are easily tempted to see it as rooted in an absolute and inflexible mode of operation that may mislead the expectations of those who try to use it, expecting it to produce results consistently and without fail. Seen as a law, the inability to manifest our desires could only be explained as a failure in the mind of the practitioner, either by not properly disciplining our thoughts or by some countermanding effect resulting from conflicting desires or beliefs in the subconscious mind. I prefer to label this capacity to engage the grammar of nature and of consciousness to bring desired conditions into our lives as manifestation, in part because that language leads us away from the conflict-finding notion of it operating from inviolate law. Manifestation seems much more like a way of approaching this ability of conscious beings that naturally fits more easily within the vision of a dramatic universe. As part of the evolving drama of the universe, the process of manifestation can be seen as something that is not bound to expectations of cosmic machinery that always churns out promised results. If you pay particularly close attention to the way many teachers describe manifestation, you find another reason to turn away from the idea of a law of attraction. You'll find statements that describe the practice and the process of manifestation as being able to tend to cause the things you think about to appear in your life. Dr. Wayne Dyer often speaks of how this capacity makes it possible to more consistently manage the coincidences of our lives. Even the label law of attraction speaks of the practice as attracting the things we desire into our lives. This is not simply waffle language. It hints at what I have come to believe is the genuine nature by which manifestation functions. There is a reason the law of attraction is not called the law of guaranteed delivery. To attract something is to influence it to move in your direction, to cause it to draw closer to you. Something you desire can successfully be attracted in the direction of your life without delivering it on a silver platter in the palm of your hand by a FedEx driver. Think a moment about the experience of purchasing something online. All the different websites and their e-commerce software are essentially mechanistic, deterministic systems. You specify what you want, and the system responds by either adding it to your shopping cart or by informing you that the item is unavailable, perhaps because it's out of stock or doesn't exist in exactly the way you requested it. A book sought online, for instance, may not exist in softcover or an ebook edition, or may be out of print entirely. No matter the reason, the system is able to immediately respond to your request with a definite yes or no. That certainly doesn't conform to the experience many people have with manifestation. There is no guarantee of delivery, nor is there any instant feedback to communicate a certain no-can-do message. You align your thoughts to focus on what you desire and wait an indeterminate amount of time to see if it appears as imagined, or appears partly as you imagined, or fails to appear at all. The reason for this kind of outcome is because manifestation is not a mechanistic or deterministic thing in nature. What the workings of manifestation do resemble is much more like the fundamental behavior of matter and energy as described in quantum theory. The features and characteristics of matter and energy in quantum theory are governed by randomness and uncertainty. One of the bedrock principles in quantum theory is the Heisenberg uncertainty principle, which tells us, for instance, that an electron can have a well-defined position or momentum, but never both at the same time. Position and momentum are paired in a strange interaction where causing either to become clear and identifiable causes the other to become entirely unpredictable. Because of this randomness and uncertainty, predictions about the behavior of a quantum system are made in terms of probability. An electron orbiting an atom has a very high probability of existing within a region of space defined by its energy, and a very low probability of existing anywhere else. But a low probability is not the same as a guarantee that it can never be found anywhere else. A high probability is not the same as a guarantee that it can only be found within its energy shell. In other words, in a quantum system, weird stuff can happen, unlikely stuff, uncertain stuff. An electron sometimes exists as a particle and sometimes exists as a matter wave and appears to randomly shift from one to the other. If manifestation behaves more like a quantum system than a deterministic system, then it becomes unwise to think of it as producing uniform and consistent results. It's much better to think of manifestation as having an effect on the probability of something emerging rather than a guaranteed delivery. For this reason alone, we shouldn't be surprised if even the most disciplined practitioner who does everything the way they should does not receive the thing they wish to manifest. As a process that influences probability, you might actually be successful in your manifestation efforts and still not have the thing you desire show up in your life. Your consciousness might successfully alter the probability of producing your desires, in effect, stacking the deck more in your favor. But increasing your odds is no guarantee that the shifted probability is high enough to attract your dreams all the way into your reality. Although I had learned about manifestation some years before via the programs and books of Dr. Wayne Dyer, I had not heard of the law of attraction or the secret until I met a man with whom I was friends for a brief time. It was he who urged me to watch the DVD of The Secret, as well as look into teachers I had not known who spoke about the law of attraction. As I began to explore this approach to manifestation, I had questions that I asked my former friend. For instance, I often encountered the assertion that through the law of attraction, correctly applied, one could have anything you wanted. This struck me as a dubious claim. As someone who believes quite strongly in free will, it seemed to me you couldn't force changes in the free will choices of another human being. After running into a lack of success in a particular manifestation effort, I asked him for advice about where I might be going wrong. He told me that what I was trying to attract was envisioned with too much specificity. That the more specific your vision for what you wanted to manifest, the less likely it was to appear. That struck me as a principle in direct contradiction to the have anything you want teaching. I pointed this out, but he had no explanation for why this was the case or how to resolve the contradiction. I wondered, what's the use of trying to manifest something you want if you're unable to be crystal clear about what you desired? That idea became something of a sticking point with me in putting complete faith in the process. How was I to know how specific I could be? More recently, I have come to see that the apparent conflict results from seeing the process as a law upon which I should be able to consistently rely. When you think of manifestation as a process for shifting the probability of your desired outcome, a reason for this specificity snag became apparent to me. Consider a moment these big multi-state lotteries like the Powerball game. To win the jackpot, you have to exactly match all 6 balls drawn at random from a set of machines. Because of the random nature by which the winning numbers are selected, you get no guarantee of success. Instead, the rules speak of your odds of winning, and the more numbers you look to match, the higher the odds become. In other words, the more details you impose on a successful match, the worse your chances get. Why? Take the Powerball game, for example. 5 numbers are drawn from a common set of balls, and the 6th ball is drawn from a separate set. Since the number of balls in each set is known, you can calculate the exact number of combinations the machines can produce. According to the game's website, the odds of any single set of numbers matching all 6 numbers drawn to win the jackpot are 1 in 175,223,510. That's because based on the setup of the game, the machines can produce over 175 million possible combinations of numbers. With that many combinations, the odds of any one set of numbers being drawn are pretty slim. But the odds of matching the single Powerball number alone are only 1 in 55. That's because for that one ball, all kinds of 6-number combinations exist that match it. The fewer conditions imposed on success, the more possible outcomes meet those conditions and thereby increase your odds. Now let's apply this reasoning to the manifestation process. If you want to manifest a car, then simply focusing your thoughts on a car, any car, is more likely to be successful than focusing on manifesting a 2015 metallic BMW with a gray leather interior and a satellite radio. This is because the number of cars matching the any car requirement is very large, making success easy. The more particular you get about the kind of car you want, the smaller the number of cars that meet your conditions. With fewer successful combinations, the number of exactly right events in the universe that would bring such a car into your world gets smaller, decreasing your odds. Since the point of manifestation is to improve your odds, you might wonder why that initial probability even matters. Let's go back to the Powerball game to understand this. A single combination of numbers costs $2 to bet. Logically, you can increase your odds by betting more money to wager on multiple sets of numbers. Anytime I'm tempted to buy a Powerball ticket, I almost never wager more than the basic $2 bet. Why? Because even though I can improve my odds tenfold by betting $20 instead of $2, the resulting odds are still pretty slim, rising to 1 in 17.5 million. So while I made my odds better, they were so poor to begin with that even after a tenfold increase, I'm still left with lousy odds. Even a $200 bet still leaves the odds at 1 in 1.75 million. A similar thing happens in manifestation. Let's suppose that you are so disciplined and so skilled at focusing your thoughts on the thing you desire that you shift the odds 100-fold or 1,000-fold in your direction. If the thing you're trying to manifest is very specific and highly detailed in the imagining, you start out with pretty low odds before you even try to manifest it. If the odds are low enough, because your requirements are too many and too specific, even a 1,000-fold improvement caused by your manifestation efforts may still result in odds that are so low as to make success unlikely. Years ago, a former technical writing colleague said that an important principle in writing documentation was to be as vague as possible, as specific as necessary. What he meant was not to waste effort either on the part of the writer or the reader in an attempt to be unnecessarily comprehensive. Sometimes some of the details in a given situation are insignificant or irrelevant, and trying to provide them actually gets in the way of locating useful information. But where the details are important, it matters to be specific. That's actually a good guide to apply in your manifestation practice. The best way to ensure success is to be specific only to the degree that those aspects of your desires are necessary. For details that don't really matter to you, don't focus on them. They only reduce your chances for success and getting what really matters. For a straight man who might want to manifest a romantic partner, clearly focusing on attracting someone who is a woman and who is straight are details that matter. While there are doubtless desires for particular physical traits, if those desires are not must-have features, it's perhaps best not to focus on those things. Why impair your success by trying to boost a low probability resulting from being too specific? If you're going to try to stack the deck of reality, a reality with an infinite number of combinations, be selective in the particulars you envision. To maximize your chances at success, frame your thoughts to focus on the qualities that truly matter to you, and allow the universe room to generate a successful outcome by allowing the things that don't matter to manifest at random. Next time on the Temporal Reverie, I want to begin to explore the possibility of miracles by first considering the underlying nature of reality. If everything in physical reality is fashioned from pure consciousness, as I believe it is, this field of source consciousness must be constantly changing in order to give rise to a universe that constantly changes. How might the pattern of not just our universe, but the eternal existence of all beings be expressed at this level of consciousness? Hints in both scripture and science point to one possibility: vibration. Sometimes in life we give so much energy and imagination to the things we want but don't yet have, we create expectations that increase the risk of disappointment. While most people understand how that works emotionally, but it may turn out that the most probable path to receiving the things in life we desire is to leave some of the details that are unessential to chance. Being a bit less exacting about every last flawless feature we think would make us happy gives the universe room to maneuver in making our dreams come true. It also leaves enough undecided to cloak those dreams in tantalizing mystery that might reveal delights made with the element of surprise. I'd like to know what you think about this episode. Please leave me questions or thoughts to share in the comments below. My thanks to God for this chance to share with all of you, and may the gifts of love, joy, peace, and enlightenment come to you all.